6 months of research, over 60 million records being exposed in healthcare. That's a big number. We're going to talk about that today in the Threat Talks, a deep dive. Thank you for joining. My name is Lieuwe Jan Koning, and here from the Security Operations Center floor at Onto-It, we bring you Threat Talks, a deep dive, and the subject of today is legacy protocols in healthcare. Let's get on to it.
Welcome to Threat Talks. Let's delve deep into the dynamic world of cybersecurity.
Let me briefly introduce my two guests of today. One is Sina Yazdanmehr. He did this research. He is CEO of Applied, and he specializes in cybersecurity, in healthcare. He knows all about hacking. He's a Class A nerd that can do ethical hacking and expose all those things. But he's also very capable in explaining how we should then make ourselves much more secure. So there's a lot to learn from him. And on my other side, it's Jan van Boesschoten. He is the innovation manager of AMS-IX. Innovation, that's great. So he comes up with new ideas and figures out how new technologies emerge. He specializes in quantum, for example. Not the subject of today, but very interesting as well. And he's with AMS-IX. And AMS-IX is one of the largest internet exchanges in the world. And, well, AMS-IX builds a lot of connections between networks. So he may know a thing or two about that. Gentlemen, welcome. DICOM, that's the protocol that you did a talk about at Black Hat. We'll provide the link in the show notes along with a couple of more materials that you could use. Could you tell us a little bit about your research, what you did?
Yeah, sure. So we scanned the whole internet from different providers, different countries to find all the DICOM servers exposed to the internet. And then we filtered out what was unrelated, like, for example, a lot of honeypots, a lot of anonymized data, or pictures from animals, because it's also used for animals. And then we ended up with having the DICOM servers storing real patient information. Then we used different methods, different functions and commands of DICOM to retrieve patient data or health data as much as possible, to run the statistics and see how many records are on the internet, how many exposed. Also, we studied the protocol itself to see, okay, what we can do besides of just retrieving data. And we ended up discovering a new attack that you can alter the existing images on a server. So it allows you to for example, destroy the whole series of images so it's not usable anymore. Or you can alter it in a way to insert signs of a particular disease. Or if you have the right knowledge and expertise, you can add layers to an existing series to remove the signs of a particular disease. For example, someone has, let's say, tumor. You add some layers in particular places that remove that, so it changes the result of diagnosis. Or someone doesn't have any problem, or you inject the signs of tumor, for example.
That sounds severe.
Yeah.
And you said we just scanned the internet, so probably partly of the networks of Jan. Huh?
Probably.
Some of your packets may have traversed that network, and then that was just open. So yeah, well, you are always thinking of ways to prevent bad stuff from. What do you think? What do you make of this?
Yeah, well. First, let me be clear. The internet consists of 50 to 60,000, and sometimes you heard 120,000 networks. But let's say a lot of networks. And of course, we don't see all the traffic. We connect networks, and we see traffic. We don't see what's going on. So you got like several layers of security. First of all, on your network, then on your systems, and then on your files. So if you expose your server to the internet, you expose it to everybody, because, you know, it's the internet. It's 50, 60,000 networks. Let's keep it at that number.
Yeah, your job is to connect everyone and not to shield it off.
Yeah. So, and of course, we see traffic moving from one network to the other network, but we don't look into the traffic. So we can't see that a DICOM protocol is suddenly popping up a lot. So that's first of all. So if you have a DICOM server, then make it or connect it to a secure network and not the internet. And there are several ways to do it. And we call it what we specialize in layer 2 connection. So directly connect the networks and under the internet, not on the internet.
Yeah. So, but you're basically saying, why would you connect over the internet in the first place if it's insecure?
Yeah, that's what we really would like, that everybody really don't connect to the internet when it's really about security. But, that's you can't expect a hospital or a small laboratory to be a security expert. So we really, everybody, like the whole internet community, but all the whole IT community has to come up with solutions for this. And we're working hard on it.
What do you think? Is this an oversight that that the connection is open?
In some cases, yes.
If I would go to a CISO of a hospital and say, hey, listen, I'm going to open a protocol that was invented almost before the internet, and I'm going to make it freely available on the internet, I would probably get fired.
I think so. But the thing is that sometimes it's just a classic misconfiguration. They just open the firewall for some tests, maybe they forgot to close it, and it's open, nobody knows until something happens and they have some attacks or something like that. Sometimes it's lack of awareness. I mean, DICOM is a very, very specific protocol in medical imaging. It's not something that you might deal with or gain some experience in some other industries or areas. And if, let's say, a CISO comes to this industry newly, maybe they are not really aware of what DICOM is, how sensitive it is, and they cannot make the right decision about how to secure this protocol or systems that dealing with that. That's another reason. And another reason is the business use cases of it. If a hospital or laboratory, let's say they have CISO, they are aware of this, but at the same time, they need to share the result or patient information with tens of different doctors that they don't know them. They might come once because of a patient. They cannot really control it. They cannot really have access control or source IP, whitelisting and stuff like that, because it's one-to-many situation and the clients are not always known. So the easiest solution that doesn't disrupt the flow and operation is just, okay, we open it. Just people need it, what we can do. And in some cases, it's actually like just the storage functions are allowed and data retrieving functions are not allowed. So it's just like you have a cloud infrastructure, something like that, and your modality, the medical devices, only upload the data there. And there's another channel, secure channel for doctors to retrieve it. This is one way to go, but considering that you can still do some sort of DOS attack, for example, because those files are very huge. You can just overflow the system and disturb the system completely.
What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's a serious problem, and because they're large file, and probably what you say, a lot of people need access to it. So you need a security system that is easy to use, and we all know about secure passwords. If you have one and you have to fill it in 5-6 times, you start to think about ways around. So I think in this case you really have to make tough security accessible for a large group of people, and that we do that in a data exchange. And then what we do there, we're working on that with the UvA and SURF.
University of Amsterdam?
It's the University of Amsterdam, and SURF is the automation party of all educational institutions in the Netherlands. We're looking into a technology who really puts the policies and the accessibility on the data files itself. So that if you want to access a data file, you first, the software that checks who are you, what are you doing, do you need to be GDPR compliant, are you allowed to do the action or the transition or a transaction that you want to do. If those boxes tick green, you can go on. If it doesn't, you're not allowed to have data. So there you have, your access and policies attached to the data files. So that will be, once that is, fully up and running, we're very far with it, then that would be a good solution. So protect the data, besides the system and the networks.
Yeah, so the encryption, authentication, the policies around it. But is that how can you apply this to would that have prevented you from getting all this? I mean, the DICOM protocol, is that compatible then?
Well, the question is how this whole system infrastructure you explained works, and if it's compatible with DICOM and its criteria. For example, imagine if it's in banking system, you initiate a money transfer today, it gets executed tomorrow, and it's all good, no problem. Mm-hmm. But if you want to see a patient's record, no, you cannot wait 2 hours or half a day to get it. And it depends, because you said there's a lot of checks that your system applies on each transaction, on file transfer, for example, to see everything is fine, and it can happen. So I assume it sort of applies a delay, right? To make sure all the lights are green and we can transfer the data.
We have Moore's law, though, so things go faster and faster. If you see security, the SSH key, it's also a negotiation. You don't even notice it when you're browsing. So security and execution of algorithms going faster and faster, and that's definitely one of the issue you have to tackle. It needs to be fast. And of course, when you have your leg broken, you can't wait to access the file. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But it was more of a question if the delay this system implements is like SSH key negotiation, which is milliseconds, or let's say 1 second that you don't even notice, or it takes longer time that you need to wait minutes or hours to get all the green lights and it's okay, now you can see your DICOM picture.
Yeah, I think if it's hours, I don't think we will put it live system. It should be milliseconds.
Yeah, definitely.
Or a week, No, it should be fast. People want instant response on everything. Even when they go shopping, they want an instant response. And definitely when it's a life-threatening situation, you want instant response. But yeah, you need that.
Yeah, true. And a bigger challenge I see is that, so it's a sort of secure networks with the known parties, right? Mm. So first of all, an organization should establish this network. Let's say a big hospital, they have branches in 10 different cities or countries, they have resources, and they want to exchange data between only these 10 branches. So I think it's very compatible and good solution. You have resources, you have budget, and you have known parties, so you're all set. But if it's a smaller hospital, or even if this big hospital needs to share data with many doctors that they come from insecure networks, they cannot do everything that you tell them in terms of security or authentication. Some of them are unknown. And also, that some hospitals or some different organization, they give patient dashboard that you as a patient, you can just log in and see your own records. So there are thousands of patients. How would you give all of those access, for example?
Yeah, that's
yes. It's more an organizational problem than a technical problem. That's what you're saying. Huh?
Yeah, I totally agree. We have to rethink everything. We say, okay, the internet is 30 years old. It's old. It's just 30 years old, and we're coming into a new area of the internet, where our digital life and our normal life are more and more interwoven, and we need to find solutions. Not all solutions are there, and security, it's something that we need to be willing to invest in. If we don't do that, it's more it's a social choice or political choice. Technical, it will be possible.
Is there anything nationwide that we can do? For example, what if the country of Belgium, the country of Germany, or the Netherlands, or whatever, is concerned about an attack on their healthcare system, for example, on this? Is there anything? What would you do if you are in cyber defense, like in the military?
I would protect the military systems, not the medical systems. Yeah. I think if you look at Saudi Arabia, they have a program where they have. I'm not sure what the name is, but they have an institution above all medical institutions that take care that all the data is interconnected. And I think
so there's dedicated attention to the healthcare cyber problem, and they help hospitals.
Well, not only the cyber problem, but also the information and data problem, that you're trusted to put your information in there, and that you know that it's only used for the right methods. Because we also have to think for, hey, it's my data. Do I want to give it away for research if I have a special cancer disease, which is very rare, and there are only 20 people in Europe and there are 50 people in the US? Do I want to share my data for research that they come up with a better medicine? That's a completely different question. We really need to do a lot of research, but I think, but that's my opinion, that we need first of all a nationwide program to start looking into and come up with a solution, and political solution, but also a technical sound solution that saves, and that will cost some money. But that's a choice.
The alternative is much more expensive.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, Sina, if I am the responsible person within a hospital and I want to know whether, based on your research, I am at risk, how would I be able to know this?
Well,
can I email you for sure?
Well, we have the IP addresses, but we don't know that this IP address particularly belongs to this hospital or organization. What we can do, if, for example, you have a good asset inventory and you know all your IP addresses and hosts and what you have, we can check. We can do a cross-check and say, okay, yeah, these 3 IP of yours is on our list. You're leaking the DICOM data on this host, but otherwise, no. The alternative solution is to do an exposure scan. So you scan your whole infrastructure, cloud, on-premises, whatever you have, and see if there is any DICOM server exposed to the internet. Once you discover it, then you need to go a little bit deeper and see, okay, what's possible to do on DICOM server on the internet. Definitely, you need to also understand if it's an accident that someone just forgot to close the firewall, or if it's on the internet because of a business need and how you can fix it.
Yeah, but at least then you know you have a problem and you can start working on it.
Exactly. First, you need to discover it and see if you have the problem or not.
And then what if your data is in a third party? Because your own IPs you can probably figure out. But if you outsource it to a service provider, then maybe your data is there. That could also be. Huh?
Well, definitely. So this is something that service providers should do. I mean, if it's, for example, a SaaS solution for PACS or DICOM, this is their business, and they should already have security measures consideration how to handle it. But if they haven't, they definitely should, and make sure that they are serving data and access only to legit partners who is allowed to have access. Also, they should make sure that one hospital cannot see other hospitals' data.
An important item on the negotiations for your renewal of the contract, probably.
Exactly.
Should be on there, should be on the list.
Yeah, exactly.
With procurement then.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of the vendor management and supply chain attack. So when you are onboarding a new vendor, particularly for something very sensitive like that you put your patient data there, you need to make sure how they do it. Is it secure? Is it encrypted? Who has access? Who doesn't? And what is their plan if there's an incident? What they can do. Are you ready? Are they not ready? All of those things.
Lots to do. Thank you, Sina. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, listeners. Thank you for joining us today at this podcast. As always, we provide you with some slide material if you want to dive into the material deeper or prepare a presentation in your own organization. You're welcome to. They are available at threat-talks.com. We also include the link to Sina's talk at Black Hat. Well, if you like this talk, or if you want to learn more, please subscribe and like this video. That helps us spread the word, and you will be sure that next Tuesday you will have something in your favorite apps inbox that there's a new episode available. From the Security Operations Center floor here at Onsite, I thank you once again and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Threat Talks, a podcast by Ontoit Cybersecurity and AMS-IX. Did you like what you heard? Do you want to learn more? Follow Threat Talks to stay up to date on the topic of cybersecurity.